ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
We are ready to go for this Thursday, January 8th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. Big win last night for the Thundering Herd, getting the win over James Madison, 66-64. Marshall improving to... Are you ready for this? Marshall is now 3-1 in conference play, 11-5 overall. And the good news here is that Marshall is right now among the leaders in the league. And it could get even better because Marshall's going to take on Georgia State. That's coming up on Saturday. Georgia State's in action tonight. Some of the conference games were scheduled for today. Couple last night. Marshall was among the two games. Troy lost to Arkansas State 86-74. So now we've got several teams that are 3-1 in league play. Just means it's going to be that much more competitive. And, of course, the more Marshall can stack those wins, the better it's going to be when that postseason tournament begins. So right now, Georgia Southern is 4-0. Arkansas State, Troy, Marshall, and Southern Miss all 3-1. So all those schools one game back of Georgia Southern. Marshall is on a nice little run right now, 4-game winning streak. Georgia Southern has been on fire, 12-5, 9-game win streak. So Marshall's probably the second hottest team in the league right now with that 4-game win streak. Georgia Southern, the hottest team. Arkansas State, though, looking pretty strong. I think that's fair. And James Madison, 1-3. This was a team that was picked to win it all. 1-3. If things keep going this way, it's going to play early in that Sun Belt Conference tournament. I mean, it could be worse. It could be UL Monroe right now at 0-4. But the standings are interesting. You've got several teams clustered at the top, and then you get the middle of the pack with Texas State, Georgia State, South Alabama, App State. All those schools are 2-2, and then you've got the teams that are below 500 in league. That includes James Madison. So we've got an interesting conference schedule coming up tonight. I'm going to be keeping an eye on a little bit of it because, of course, Marshall's next opponent is going to be Georgia State, and they are taking on App State. That's coming up tonight, 7 o'clock. Those of you that are interested, it's going to be on ESPN Plus if you want to keep an eye on that. As we mentioned, both these teams are 2-2 in league play. Georgia State, probably as Coach Jackson called them the other day, he was like they were the best 4-10 team in the league. They didn't look like a 4-10 team. They're 5-11 now. So they're the best 5-11 team probably in the country. They're still pretty good. App right now minus 1.5 the spread, and the over/under on this one's like 139.5. So look for some scoring there. But App minus 1.5 on the spread. I'm going to take Georgia State in that one. Georgia State, I think they get the win. But whatever the case may be, Marshall will be traveling to the GSU Convocation Center for the game on Saturday. We're going to have it for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Other action in the league tonight, you've got Old Dominion taking on Coastal Carolina. That's coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. Texas State's got Southern Miss to contend with, and then UL Monroe looking for its first win. Could this be the game that UL Monroe gets its first Sun Belt win, taking on 1-3 Sun Belt record Louisiana? 3-13 versus 3-13. The only difference is Louisiana's won a game in the league. Monroe has not. So coming up tonight, Cajun Dome, 8:30 p.m. for those of you that might want to just tune in out of curiosity. I think if I'm going to watch anything today, I'm going to look at that App State-Georgia State game. But we got a lot to talk about today because, of course, we've got the semifinals and the college football playoff continues and returns to your airwaves right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Also going to be on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. So we get the playoffs the next couple of days. And then, of course, the national championship game is going to be on a Monday. But I think this is probably the more compelling of the two, just because. And let me be honest with you, Indiana versus Oregon, it's going to be great. We've seen it before, though. Ole Miss, Miami, I don't know which one we're rooting for. Now, a lot of people are jumping on that Indiana bandwagon. A lot of them are Big Ten fans. A lot of them are Ohio State fans. Maybe jumping on the Indiana bandwagon, and I get that, but I don't know if the more compelling story would be Ole Miss and Miami, the winner of this game, getting either Oregon or Indiana. Oregon, of course, always going to be popular, but there's a lot of people jumping on that Indiana bandwagon. But I'm more interested in Ole Miss and Miami. That Hurricanes defense is pretty good. Fourth in FBS, number one defense in the ACC, allowing 13.1 points per game. And this is the only team in the country to not allow a touchdown of 40 or more yards this season. That's huge. And then, of course, you got Ole Miss, big play offense, produced 5 touchdowns of at least 40 yards. So which is going to happen? We're going to see big play from Ole Miss, or we're going to see lockdown defense from Miami. I'm interested in this one. It should be a fun one. If you can't watch it, don't worry. We got you covered. 7 o'clock is going to be our airtime right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Of course, and then you got the other game tomorrow, the Friday night game. And that's a big one. The Ducks, big plays, right? 95 plays of 20-plus yards this season. Indiana is 5th in the country with 83. The Ducks with 95 lead the nation. Key to this one, Oregon has got to get out to an early lead. That's what happens when they win. It's because they get out to a fast lead. So we've got a big one coming up tonight, big one tomorrow. We'll see if Fernando Mendoza can continue his storybook season, the Heisman winner, the only FBS quarterback since at least 1996 with 3 or more games of 4 touchdowns and a completion percentage better than 900 in a single season or career. You know, the other guy who did it, Bryce Young of Alabama, is the only other FBS quarterback has multiple occurrences in the same season, twice in 2021. So that's amazing. And we've got a Hoosiers team that it's going to be completely different next year because there are 28 players. When I was doing some of the research on this, 28 players on the roster. They're in their final year of eligibility. So Indiana is going to be doing some rebuilding. It's going to be a lot easier to rebuild or reload if you're the national championship or you get to the championship game. A lot of those players came from JMU and other parts. So don't tell me there's not a wealth of talent at the group of 6 level. Only problem is that talent keeps moving up to what is now the Power 4. And that's where I think college football has got to figure out what to do. Because you've got players that will commit and then leave for another opportunity. And the system has allowed it. And I'm all for player freedom. I'm all about these young men having opportunities to profit off of their name. But we're talking about a system that was designed to allow them to profit off of their name instead of it becoming this cash handout, it feels like. Guy hasn't even played a snap yet at the school, but yet here he is. He's walking around with lots of pocket money. You know, I get it. You know, you're trying to attract the best recruits. Scholarship's not going to do it anymore. Tuition waiver is definitely not going to do it. Scholarship is not going to do it. You got to throw something a little bit extra in to make it happen. So we'll get your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I want to break this basketball game down a little bit further. The Marshall women also with a win last night as well, and that's huge for the Thundering Herd. Marshall is looking to go on a 10-game win streak. Coming up on Saturday, going to be at the Cam Henderson Center. That's impressive where they're at. Coastal Carolina is coming to the Henderson Center at 1 o'clock on Saturday. But Marshall with that win against Old Dominion, 77-70. 33 points for Tamaya Lewis-Utsi. 33 points. She just doubled her output. And so Marshall's off to a 5-0 Sun Belt start. And I think I read, it was Tim Stevens who wrote the piece, I believe, in the Herald Dispatch, because he's been around a lot longer than some of us. I'm not saying he's old, just in case Tim's listening. I'm not saying you're old, Tim, but he's been around. He's seen a few more games than some of us, just a few. And the Herd's getting into point in the season territorially here with the record that the last time Marshall was able to put together a run like this, it won the regular season championship back in the old Southern Conference days. So, could this be another win for Marshall basketball? And of course, you gotta give a tip of the cap to Christian Spears. He brought in Kim Caldwell. Caldwell instantly successful, and then you bring in sort of a transition year. You bring in Julie Folks, also a successful coach at the lower level, and maybe the transition just a little bit more of a just needed a year for that transition. I mean, they're playing amazing ball right now. So you don't get back-to-back championship, but you might get 2 and 3 years. I'll be okay with that completely. So, and I like how she's building the program. It feels like it's a program that's built for some longevity. And I would have been amazed to see what kind of program Marshall would have had last year if Caldwell would have been able to stay. But, of course, you get a job offer from Tennessee as a women's basketball coach. You have to take that. That's just one of those moments in your career that, you reached one of the pinnacles of your sport in college. And that's Tennessee. That's one of those dream jobs. You don't pass that up. I don't care what your situation is. So we're going to talk about this Marshall men's game. We're going to hear from you, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You've cut back on everything and you're still coming up short at the end of the month. Give your local State Farm agent a call for a free discount double check. They'll show you how something as simple as combining car and home policies can save you hundreds of dollars a year. Being there to help keep more of your money is why your local State Farm agent is here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In Huntington, John Garten, 304-525-1116. And in Barbersville, Marcia Slater, 304-736-6100.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Let the Car Ferry bring a little magic to your driveway at Mark Porter Auto Group. With locations in Pomeroy, Jackson, Ohio, and Ashland, Kentucky. Want to shop 24 hours a day? Cozy up with a cup of cider and browse our full inventory anytime at markporterautogroup.com. Fall into a safe, reliable vehicle and let the Car Ferry guide you to Mark Porter Auto Group in Pomeroy, Jackson, and Ashland. Or shop 24/7 at markporterautogroup.com.
Cold weather's on its way, and what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests. They sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
Want to make 2026 your year of adventure? Book that trip and learn a new language with Babbel. Go ahead, make a resolution you can stick to. Now is the time. Babbel's New Year sale is here. Unlock all of the languages on Babbel with the lifetime subscription for 65% off. Just go to Babbel.com and start today. Babbel teaches you relevant words and phrases so you can start speaking with confidence in as little as 3 weeks. And because Babbel's bite-sized lessons fit easily into your daily routine and are easy to remember, you'll be talking like a local in time for takeoff. Dive into the world of language learning content with Babbel's videos, podcasts, and stories from around the world, full of culture bites and language learning tips. Turn your daydream into a destination this year with Babbel. But don't wait. This offer ends January 15th. Get Babbel's lifetime access for less at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. MDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
Listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Our text line is open now at 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. Brought to you daily by Clark's Pump and Shop. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We'll get those texts going here in just a few moments. Last night, the Thundering Herd on the road getting the victory against James Madison, 66-64. Thundering Herd had to hang on in this one. Last field goal Marshall made. This isn't free throw or anything else. This is straight up field goal. 6 minutes and 56 seconds left on the clock. That was the last field goal for the Thundering Herd. And James Madison was just starting to chip away and eat at that lead. Marshall at one point had a 13-point lead with 17:39 to go in that second. James Madison had a 2-point lead with 19:35 to go. We had one lead change, one tie. The tie lasted for 1 minute and 16 seconds. Marshall led for 38 minutes and 35 seconds. James Madison led for only 9 seconds. That was it. 9-second lead, ties the game, and then Marshall leads for almost 39 minutes. And the Thundering Herd had to hold on. It got outscored in that second half, 39-30. Points in the paint, James Madison, a little bit better. 16 points more in the paint than Marshall. 36-20 advantage there. Points off turnovers, though, that really kept Marshall going and fueled a lot of that surge. 18 points off turnovers, only 4 for James Madison, so Marshall's 14 points to good there. Second chance points, 16-13 in favor of the Herd, so 3 points better there. Fast break points, it was even, 4-3. Okay, so one more point for the Herd there. Bench scoring kind of push, 18-15 in favor of James Madison. But the first number you got to look at is how well did Marshall shoot? Marshall shot 23 of 60. That's 38.3%. So Marshall usually shoots as a team 46.8. So that was down a little bit. 3-point line, though, Marshall shot 30.8%, 8 of 26. Marshall is usually shooting up until that point 36% a contest. So down a little bit there. The free throw line, 12 of 16. Really, free throw line was big, but it wasn't you didn't see that many opportunities. 8 of 13 for James Madison from the free throw line, 12 of 16. If Marshall hits a few earlier free throws, we are not talking about this game being close to the end. It's over a couple moments sooner. But 12 of 16 from the free throw line. Rebounding, it was 2 more for James Madison than Marshall. Hurd got out-rebounded by 2, 40-38. Fouling was okay, 17 fouls for James Madison, 16 for the Thundering Herd. The assist number was about the same. Really, you look at the stats, kind of mirror each other to a degree. Turnovers the big one, though. 11 turnovers for James Madison, 6 for Marshall. That's got to be the big number for me. The 18 points off turnovers. And the fact that Marshall had 6 turnovers, 13 assists, so a good assist to turnover number there, 5 blocks, and you do all of this with about 2 minutes of Matt Coleman on the court. He got 1 rebound in the game. You brought him in late as well because you had to do that free throw thing you do to kind of extend the game if you're James Madison. And really, I got a lot of people commenting last night. If you weren't able to stay with us for the post game, I had a lot of people comment to me, hey, Marshall should not have taken its foot off the gas. Marshall should have kept the foot on the accelerator and played faster. And I had a couple of people question later, Jalen Spear. Now, he had 15 points in the game. He was 4 of 20 from the field. 3 of 12 from the three-point line, and he hit 4 or 5 from the free throw line. And I don't think anyone's questioning, free throws. But Spear had 15 points. He was your second leading scorer, but he was 4 of 20 from the field. And so I got a lot of people question that last night. Noah Schutte had 16 points. He was 7 of 14 from the field. He missed his lone three-pointer. He was perfect from the free throw line. He also had 5 rebounds, 39 minutes. Coach Jackson's talked about how he had a good rhythm with Jalen, so it was hard to get some of the other guys in. I thought, some good minutes, especially with Matt Van Komen out. You got some good minutes. I'd like to see more Bryce Slay. He was out there 15 minutes. Drew Fuquay, he was out there 15 minutes. Shamari Hugie was out there for 15 minutes. And you didn't get that much scoring from them. Shamari had 4 points. Bryce had 3. Landon had 2. Landon's out there for 9 minutes, though. 1 of 3 from the three-point line. Wilson Dubinsky, you got a couple minutes out of him. 5 total. You got 5 total minutes out of him. Maybe if you get him in there a little bit more. But Wyatt Fricks was sitting with 4 personal fouls. He had 11 points in that game. He was out there for 21 minutes. He had a couple of steals. He had a block, a couple of turnovers as well. But 3 rebounds. And it's difficult with 4 fouls to really get any consistency here. But I think, looking at the numbers, I would like to see some of these guys out there a little bit more. But at the same time, how do you break up with Schutte and Spear? Fricks, if he would have been out there a little bit more, you might not have seen some of these guys. And, Coleman, when he gets back to full strength and can go, it's going to be hard to take him out of the lineup depending on the situation. I don't really think the team did anything bad. It got the win. It went into a tough place. It's hard for any Sunbelt team to go into the Atlantic Union Bank Center in Harrisonburg and win. It doesn't happen very often. JMU is 5-0 at home before the loss yesterday to the Thundering Herd. So it's a good win for me. I take it, and Marshall had an opportunity maybe to blow this thing away, put this team away early. Halftime, you go in 36-25, and you get outscored in that second half by 9, 39-30. And it's a tight game for close to the end. And again, I'm a big fan of the Elam ending these days because it kind of shuts down some of this. Now, that's not going to happen in Division I college basketball anytime in my lifetime, but I like the Elam ending because it gives you a target score. You got to get to that target score, and then you're done, and it kind of cuts out the fouling a little bit or the free throws. But again, the free throws were huge last night. If you could have hit a couple more key baskets late, and let's just talk about the fact that Marshall went cold in that game. Last field goal was 6:56 to go, and Marshall goes really cold in that game. So hopefully the tempo will be a little higher. Marshall will have that road intensity when it goes to play Georgia State. That's coming up Saturday. We're going to have that for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. But while the men were winning and hanging on, the Marshall women were getting the win as well, and that's huge because this team is undefeated now in conference play. Marshall's only got one blemish, but the women are on a tear. 5-0 in league play, looking for a 10-game win streak on Saturday. So Henderson Center should be the place to be for Herd fans looking for basketball on a Saturday since the men are gone. I'd like to see the Henderson Center jammed a little bit. I mean, Saturday. What are you doing at Saturday at 1? Of course, you can take the radio with you and listen to our pregame coverage. We'll have it for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We got plenty of time for you. Our text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We'll get those texts coming up on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Giovanni's Pizza. Fresh, hot, and tasty. Have it delivered right to your door. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
Save big money on new appliances when you shop at Menards. We have an excellent in-stock appliance selection from great brands at the best prices, ready to take home today. Whether you want new laundry appliances or need upgrades for your kitchen, you'll be sure to find appliances that'll make your life easier. Visit Menards and save big money on appliances today. Plus, check out Menards.com to view all of our great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text? Online loan payments? Even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Cold weather's on its way. And what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests. They sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
The new year at Hometown Chevrolet can only mean one thing. It's time to upgrade your ride. Right now, we're offering top dollar for your trade, even if you don't buy from us. That's cash in your pocket, no strings attached, just for bringing in your car. Drive into the new year with something you'll love, turning heads wherever you go, and starting the new year confident, excited, and ready for the road ahead. It's simple and it's fast, and it's waiting for you at yourhometownchevy.com, or stop by and see us in Waverly. Your Hometown Chevy, where the new year starts with you in the driver's seat.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
They get our kids to school safely.
Okay, so walk me through how you got to this answer.
They provide critical support in the classroom.
Chicken sandwich, my favorite.
They keep students nourished so they're ready to learn.
I'm an outie.
They are there when accidents happen.
Oh, you're gonna need a Band-Aid.
And they keep our schools beautiful.
School bus drivers, custodians, nurses, paraeducators. Just a few of the education support professionals who help schools in West Virginia run smoothly every day. This is Dale Lee, president of the West Virginia Education Association. They ensure that our students have a safe ride to school, healthy meals, and a clean environment to learn. So take a moment to say thank you to the ESPs in your school.
A message from the West Virginia Education Association.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
We continue on with your Thursday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line is open 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Staying with basketball just for a few minutes, taking a look at the net for both Marshall men and women. With the win last night, the Thundering Herd, the net now for Marshall is at 130. Arkansas State is the highest team in the Sun Belt at 126. Troy is at 135, then it drops off a bit. Southern Miss is at 180, and I'm sure all this is going to change again tonight. Georgia State, Marshall's next opponent, 288. That is the net for Georgia State. Of course, App State coming in at 231. That should be an interesting matchup, say the least. And Marshall will get Georgia State on Saturday. Now, on the women's side, you would think Marshall would have the highest net, right? Marshall's got that 9-game win streak going. Marshall is undefeated in Sun Belt play. It's close. Marshall does not have the highest net in the women's side of the rankings. Instead, it is James Madison. James Madison has a net of 62. And just to tell you how good that the Marshall basketball team is, Marshall is right now undefeated in the Sun Belt play and going for its 10th straight win. Marshall's 87th. That's one of the highest nets I've ever seen for Marshall on the women's side. Troy is 65. Georgia Southern is 91. So you have five. You have 5 teams. Arkansas State, 98. You have 5 teams in the top 100 of the net. Marshall is in the upper percentage there. James Madison is outside of the top 50 at 62, so Marshall has some opportunities here to improve. But the team with the lowest net in the Sun Belt is Louisiana at 324, Texas State at 273, Georgia State is 236. Again, this is women's basketball. And then ULM is 192. South Alabama's 159. It's getting up there, though. App State's at 153. So the Thundering Herd has a pretty good net, and it looks like the women's side of the conference is doing a lot better as far as the rankings are concerned compared to the men. Texter says, Paul, blowing big leads is becoming a hallmark of Herd basketball, and we are getting closer to the point of not being able to hold on to the game. I appreciate the text there. You got to finish, absolutely. I can't argue with that, and I don't think Coach Jackson would argue with that as well. You have to finish. How do you finish? Well, what did Marshall not do last night that put itself in jeopardy? Well, the first thing here was it got cold. You go through this. The coaches talked about good teams go on runs, and that's what James Madison was able to do. But the scoring dried up. Marshall's last field goal, 6:56 to go in the second. James Madison goes on a run. James Madison starts to chip away at that lead, and it comes down to free throws for the Thundering Herd. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I got to depend on the guy at the line to win the game. Now, if that's got to be, that's got to be. But still, I don't want to have to depend on that one. I mean, it's like depending on a field goal to win the game and to keep your job. Just ask Baltimore how that goes. Texture says, Paul, the men's basketball team plays together and plays hard. However, they struggle holding leads. Do you think they run out of gas? I don't know if they had their depth, the full depth. I don't think this team's 100% all the way, to be honest with you. I mean, Matt Van Komen right now, 2 minutes. He could have definitely added to this. Wyatt Fricks at one point, have 4 fouls. So you get 21 minutes out of Fricks there. And I think Jalen was off, even though he had 15 points, 3 of 12 from the three-point line, 4 of 20 for the game. He did hit 4 or 5 from the free throw line, but still the big number for me is the three-point shot, 3 of 12, and 4 of 20 from the field. Obviously, 12 of those were three-point attempts, but that leaves 8. So he was 1 of 8 from inside. If I've done my math right, 1 of 8 from inside and 3 of 12 from the three-point line. I mean, how do you replace him on the floor? You can't, though. You have to let him work through that. And then with Fricks, he's a potent weapon for you out there, and he's limited to 21 minutes. I mean, the good thing here, and here's a number that we really don't talk about, and I should more because, again, I'm a big fan of the plus-minus. It speaks to me because it tells me what's happening when you're on the court. And Matt Van Komen, he's out there 2 minutes. He's -2 in the plus-minus. Shamari's out there, and he's -8. Bryce Slay's out there. He's -1. Landon Joseph's +4. Drew Fuquay is -4. Wilson Dubinsky is +2. Jalen Spear is -5. So when he was out there, his plus-minus number dropped to -5. Caleb Holenbeck is out there, and he's a +4. And Eric Harding, +11. I mean, he had 6 points. That's an interesting stat line. Keep that in mind. 6 points, 2 of 3 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He had 5 rebounds, and he had 3 steals. He's out there 26 minutes, and he's +11. Noah Schutte was only +2, and Wyatt Fricks, when he was out there, he was +7. So as far as plus-minus concerned, it's Harding and Fricks. Those were your 2 key players there,